What's happening, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the shop. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the Dynasty Diagnostic podcast. This week presented by Manscaped. My name is Eitan Mozia. Ladies, gentlemen, technicians, everybody listening to this podcast, it's hot out there. It is burning out there. Not only did Los Angeles, where I'm from, where I live, just experience one of the hottest days of the year so far, but now even gender reveals are dangerous. That was actually how one of the largest forest fires, or one of the largest brush fires we've had in California this year started. I'm sweating, you're sweating, we're all sitting here trying to get through it. But all of us right now are on fire, guys specifically. And holistically, I mean that. And if you don't want to end up with a veritable rainforest down here, you've got to go to www.manscaped.com. Take a look, see how they can help. Go ahead and see if you can maybe snatch a perfect package. Maybe it's just a lawnmower for you. Maybe it's just the deodorant to keep your forest in order. All you got to do is use our exclusive code DynastyD at checkout for 20% off. Again, that's code DynastyD. And that's not the only thing that's hot out there. You know, the NFL season starts this Thursday, and I'm beyond pumped for this year and this time of the year. There's OBJ's and number 2 wide receiver storylines. There's Von Miller's out for the year storylines, which as a Bronco fan deeply, deeply hurts me. But the hottest topic potentially leading up to week 1 are the rookies. And we've talked about it. We spoke about Bryan Edwards and how his ridiculous college dominator and easy path to a starting role in Las Vegas made him an extreme value. Even the biggest analysts in the game, like J.J. Zachariason, have stated that if not for his injury, we'd be looking at a first-round NFL talent you probably got in the second round of your rookie drafts. We went over Van Jefferson and how in the third round of your rookie drafts, you nabbed a receiver that is being hailed by Jalen Ramsey and Aaron Donald as the most impressive Rams rookie. Most impressive. That includes Cam Akers on that list. We waxed poetic about Joe Burrow and how he should be viewed differently to most rookie quarterbacks entering the league. How ready-made his team is already for him. How he already has a CEH, if not a better version in Joe Mixon on the squad. How he has his Jamar Chase and AJG. And how Justin Jefferson and Tyler Boyd are essentially the same thing for Joe Burrow over the last couple of seasons. We talked about it. And the question then becomes, well, why are rookies so valuable? When we know in the past we've pumped up these guys just like some other guys that didn't necessarily hit those heights and burned us a little bit. But it's an economics question. Really, we're so excited about these rookies because it's the only time in dynasty leagues you get to acquire valuable assets at cost. Huge gains can be made in spite of the many misses you may have. But rookies can't do it alone. Coaches, trainers, teammates, families all play a role in getting these guys to reach the highest levels. And too often as analysts, we only have the numbers to confirm or discredit our ideas about the guys playing this gladiator sport. I wanted to know more. My audience deserved to know more. I wanted to be taught what is innate versus what's coachable, what's something that can be learned. And today, I am lucky enough to bring you a man that can answer some of those questions and provide some context as to what does and doesn't translate to the pro game. Please join me in welcoming a man that's trained Le'Veon Bell, DeAndre Hopkins, Odell Beckham Jr., Emmanuel Sanders, Marcus Johnson, Richard Sherman, Joe Hayden, Darius Big Play Slay, CeeDee Lamb, Grant Delpit, and that's not even the list.
God, I didn't realize I trained all them boys. Whew.
And now we got the Footwork King in the house. What's going on, man? What's happening?
What's up, man? Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Man, it's crazy. It's surreal, man. When you list that list, it's like, God, not only is the list, blessed to train, work with so many boys. It's just kind of like, man, there's like another 20, 30 of them but it's just like, man, it's just crazy, man. How it's been a long journey, a long time coming, and I've just been blessed, man. And like I said, I thank y'all guys, man, and just having me up on here, man. And I do a lot of these, man. Just kind of people like picking my brain on, what the things that I do and with the athletes and stuff like that, man. So, like I said, I'm happy to be here. Thank you guys, and whatever y'all got for me, man, I'm all for it.
Hey man, we got a lot. We got a hell of a lot. I'm just happy to again have somebody who can actually kind of dispel some of the myths about what you see from coaches or what you hear from coaches about what can and can't be coached. Like there has to be, I guess, techniques to learn, but in the same way, I mean, I assume some of these guys just are born with some God-given talent that you need to refine to be able to get to the highest level of the NFL. Before we even get to that, I wanted to talk more about you and just learn about your backstory and maybe some of the reasons as to why you decided coaching and training was something that you wanted to do going forward.
Well, I live down here in Texas, and football is king. So, it's a religion down here. We're very, very young, 5 or 6 years old. So I've been playing football all my life, but I battled a bunch of injuries. I went to college. I went to college at University of Houston, a kinesiology major. But it took me getting hurt so many times to realize that I had to stop playing a game to realize, like, okay, you know what? I need to take this time and really find out how the body actually works, how it moves, and by me being a kinesiology major, man, just studying that, how this works and how that works, it's actually helped me prepared. It's been helping me with my training for 10 plus years now. Everything I do is about movement. I think like some of the things that the NFL stresses a lot, especially the NFL Combine, is 40 time and all that kind of stuff, which is actually, if you notice that the best football players are really not the super duper fast ones. When you get to the highest level of football, speed is not a factor. It's the little small detailed things in their skills that got to be sharpened and developed. It's technique and movement efficiency. And that's why so many guys work with me, not to get faster, is to be able to move quickly and efficiently and more accurately with flawless technique at their position. And it all starts from the ground up. So taking what I learned, and a lot of it was just trial and error. Plus, I'm the type of a trainer that I work movements myself and I can work it, I work them, explain to them what we got going on. I'll work at full speed. I'll demonstrate what we're doing while we're doing it. And then I also show them, okay, this is how we're going to apply this in a game. So, a lot of my work's, is on Twitter and Instagram and stuff like that, man. So the guys just kind of, they reach out to me in regards of it. And, they'll come down in the off season and work at my facility. Or I'll go to 2 places. I go to LA for Odell and Joe Hayden, and I go to Miami for Le'Veon. So those are the only 2 places I really just travel. Mainly, everybody comes down here to work.
So you were a DB, right?
Say it again.
You were a DB when you played, right?
Yeah. I play safety.
Okay. So as safety, do you think that seeing the game from that position has maybe given you like more of an understanding of pretty much everything as a whole because you have everything laid out in front of you as a safety?
No, I think the only thing that safety probably helped me out with the mindset, the mentality, because I bring that aggressive mentality with everything that I do. People say I got a lot of angry passion when I train, but I bring that with wide receivers as well, because to be the most successful wide receiver, you got to have the mindset, and especially when you're training the youth. The pro guys, they have it, but the defensive mentality I bring when I'm training running backs and receivers, the offensive players, who are more so, could be not that type of, they don't think like that. They're more, I don't know how to pronounce, because you don't really see a lot of pro guys though. Those guys got to be, they got to have that savage mentality. But it's just the way that they have to move. It helped me. The only thing what helped me with as being a DB is it helps me understand how receivers play, and that's what actually made Richard Sherman a better defensive back. He played wide out, so it helps. being able to play defensive back and then playing a position wide out for a long time, it kind of helps you understand, route running, leverage, the demeanors, releases, all that type of stuff. What I've been able to do is I've been able to kind of break it down to a point where it's like, you know what? If a receiver's here and the defensive back is here, if a receiver does this, but the defensive back doesn't get us take this step, the receiver hasn't beat. So a lot of these guys aren't getting beat on speed problems. It's a footwork problem or a movement problem, and it's actually that with a lot of positions. O-lineman starts, everything they do is lateral and directional movement. It's not that the O-lineman got to be, big and strong. You got to be able to mirror these guys like Rashawn Gary, guys like Caleb Chase coming off the edge, as long as you're able to move, you got enough to, you get in their way, you'd be all right, protect the quarterback. So I just kind of took it to, it's the game is just so, it's crazy how they emphasize so much with speed and bench press tests and the broad jump, all of those, those testing stuff is just not, it's not. It shouldn't be. The NFL guy coaches. Scouts. They shouldn't be. Figuring out whether or not they want to draft the player off combine numbers. Man, they need to do football stuff. Watch how the athlete moves. Put them through real position drills, not the stuff that they really got going on at the combine. Man, those big bags. You see running backs going over big bags, man. Like they shouldn't go over big bags like that. Their feet off the ground too high, especially in small, short areas. You need your feet to skim the turf as you're a running back. Being elusive through traffic is key. So when I see that type of stuff, it's just like, man, these guys don't know what they're doing, or they don't know what they're looking at.
Why do you think that like the general media tends to focus on the wrong details?
Why they don't? I don't think they know. I don't think they know because I do a lot of calls even with coaches. College coaches, man. A lot of college coaches hit me up. Hey, Rashad, we saw this. Can you teach me? Can you explain the mechanics of this right here? I do a lot of that, and I'll tell them what I do. How I do it and how it's going to benefit them. So a lot of them just don't know. I see the game from a different perspective, I guess, as well. Being able to when you try for instance, a defensive back. Those guys got to do everything in reverse, man. So their feet, hips, and eyes got to be perfect. They got to be able to match the movements of a receiver. That's why guys like Jeffrey Okudah, perfect. He's been training with Clay Mack, also Jamal Adams' trainer in Dallas for since middle school. Jeffrey Okudah has been NFL ready before he even got to Ohio State. Same thing with Kendall Sheffield. I've been working with Kendall since he was in high school. But we're me and guys like Clay and D-Rob, we're able to input that game into these guys before they get to the college, so they excel like crazy. Courtney Davis, CeeDee Lamb, Caleb Vaughn, Shewell Lonalua.
You're able to maybe give these guys like some of the cues that these receivers give when trying to run their route that are maybe supposed to throw them off.
Absolutely. Well, you know what? I did that this year with Courtney and CeeDee Lamb. They're after the combine, they're down here back home working with me the entire time. I work with Xavier Howard, Joe Hayden, like I said, Will Jackson, Lonnie. Akilu Sherm, so many top Slay, so many top corners. I had to help CD understand and think, it's not the Big 12 now, all right? So he knows you got to release a little bit different, and you got to use your hands a lot more. You got to get separation a lot more. You got to take him here to go there. If he does this, you got to do that. So I kind of prepped CD. Actually, I prepped CD up to the T. He's been a good route runner. We didn't have to really work on a lot of the top of the route stuff, but the main thing is releases. And that's kind of what N'Keal Harry struggled with, and that's when I worked with him this offseason as well. You got to start from the start. A lot of people just work on the routes. Work on the releases because these guys cannot run through a defensive back. They can't run around them. So to keep these guys in the NFL, they got to be able to release. Get separation at the line of scrimmage and get separation at the top of the route. But the main part is get separation from the defensive back. CD's doing exactly that right now. From Dallas, he's not a burner. He ain't no Ruggs speed, but I tell you right now, Ruggs is struggling way more than CD is. You know what I mean? Just because you just don't beat them dudes with pure speed, it don't work like that. Everybody in the NFL is,
everyone's fast.
So but that ain't the fact that the fast are smart. You know, I work with me like these safeties are sit 20 yards deep. You know, you think about Derwin James, like, you know, these guys are so smart. Like, you can't get to that spot. As a matter of fact, if you watch an NFL game, you don't really see anybody receiver beat somebody just terribly deep. You know, you see Miko or Tyreek Hill on a busted play a lot of times, you know, but you don't see them getting downfield past somebody a lot, you know. It's just that these guys are playing these great technique and they're so smart. You know, understanding of the game, but you know, to get to point A to point B, you got to be efficient in your movements. And I try to make sure I eliminate any kind of extra steps, any kind of wasted movements, and I find ways to get them to point A to point B. And if we're at point A to point B and we're still in trouble, get to C as quickly as we possibly can. And I got it down to a science, man. Like I could watch film with somebody right now, just give me 3 plays and I can figure out okay what they need to do to get better at that. You know,
Love that. Love that.
Yeah.
So let's talk about wide receivers a little bit more specifically. You talked about releases. So do you think you just need a wider inventory of releases in the pro game than you do in college? Or is it, you know, learning how to step outside of somebody's body? Like what are the types of things that you find that people struggle with the most when trying to learn different releases?
Well, you know, in college, man, they in the NFL there's no boundaries. So it's a wider field. You know, and that's the biggest adjustment that the guys from college got. You know, that's one of the big. I think the biggest adjustment. These guys are like, damn, ain't no boundaries out here. There's boundaries in college, so you can't. All right, so you play corner, man. You got a lot of room to work with. That's why you watch the game, San Diego Chargers. Keenan Allen be out there on the island by himself. You know what? He'll widen that dude way out there and take him 1-on-1. He knows that safety at the top can't get there quick enough to help him out. Keenan gonna beat that dude 1-on-1 every single time. You know what I mean? So it's stuff like that these college DBs a lot of don't understand. But they, you know, you got to introduce them to that. And just being, you can't go off athleticism. Your technique has to be flawless. You got to know what to do depending on what you see, what alignment. You know, you got to start figuring out okay, what offensive coordinator am I playing against? You know what I mean? What he likes to do. So you got to get real detailed in the game. Once they start understanding the game, you know, a lot. And you installed a lot of the movements that they may see, they can become better. And for receivers in college, you got to get they just got to. There's not much you can do. It's usually just speed release. That's it. You know, I mean that's all. You know they don't have a lot of freedom like NFL. NFL has tons of freedom. You know the guys got but in college they don't have any freedom for releases. So you know when you get to the pros, it's like, okay, all I know is 2 releases, but these pro guys been playing, you know, ball for so long, and you know, they know if a receiver got this foot up, he's probably going to stick this way. If he got the opposite foot up, he's going to stick the other way. So it's become a lot easier for the defensive backs. So wide receivers got to get a lot more craftier. You know, what I do for college, college guys, they got to do, you know, if the ball's inside, right foot up, you know, stick outside, whatnot. But in NFL, I teach my guys how to release with the same foot up. You know, you can't line up on the line. For instance, Slay got to cover the number 1 receiver every game. If Slay got to cover the number 1 receiver every game, he can't line up on the line and release the same way every single time. Slay will pick that up. I mean, these guys are so smart. Slay will pick that up. Slay like, okay, he got this foot up. All right, so he's probably going to do this right here. So let me go ahead and squeeze him here. You know, make him run this right here, you know, or make him run it to me. So, I mean, there's certain things you got to be able to do. You got to be able to do it quickly and efficiently. And I'm able to find out I'm able to kind of work those things with those boys and make it translate.
Do you have to teach different kinds of releases and different kinds of hand movements to different kinds of receivers? Like if there's a guy that, for example, maybe a Cortland Sutton type who's just a big, strong dude versus maybe somebody who, like Calvin Ridley, maybe isn't necessarily as physically imposing, but maybe somebody who's a little bit more shifty. Do you have to teach these guys differently, or is it the same basic fundamentals that these guys need to know?
I like to use my big guys. I like to have them use their bodies a little bit more, but also like with my big guys, like for instance, like Nikhil, I had to raise Nikhil up. Nikhil's been taught to drop, come to bounce. You know, as soon as you come to the line, come to bounce. Every defensive back in the world knows the first thing a receiver does is come to bounce. What I've been able to do is one, I tell for instance, Nikhil, I go Nikhil. You know, he's a big dude, 6'3", 225. He's doing very good right now at camp, and I love it. They say he's even actually out there working on his releases on air while, you know, during routes on air, which is good. But the kill, I told him that I had to bring him up a little bit more, and he kept getting outside of his frame. Anytime your feet get outside your frame, you're gonna get stuck. So he'll push him, then he'll whop whop, but he'll be so wide and he'll drop. So once he drops, he's too heavy. The lower you get, the heavier you get. It's just like try to jump up when you're really low. You can't do it. But as you start to get higher and higher and higher, you're able to come off the ground. So I work the killer's foot speed. I work with him, keeping his feet inside his body frame whenever he gets ready to at the breaking point of his release, and also worked on him staying up, because all he needs is a little bit of separation. Any receiver in the NFL needs a little bit of separation. A little bit of separation is all they need to get even with the defensive back, and they can take it from there. But with the bigger dudes, man, you got to get them. They need the footwork. They can use your body, but it's like I got to be able to get them to move quickly and efficiently to be able to get their body in position to body that defensive back. Because these defensive back, man, if you watch some of these guys move backwards in reverse, it's like they're skating. These guys literally just skim the turf. Defensive backs always skim the turf when they're moving backwards. They don't pick their feet off the ground that high, because if their feet are getting off the ground that high and a receiver's pushing them forward, they can't. They're going to end up getting beat because
change direction.
And you watch Odell. Odell, he'll slide. Odell, you can put a defensive back 4 yards apart. Odell will find a way to get to that defensive back. Most likely with this little foot fire crab walk thing we do, when his feet are just on the ground still, he'll just skate right to him. It's amazing, because in short area you can't pick your feet off the ground. Once that happens, somebody's usually in trouble. And that's one thing I've been having to fix with a lot of receivers. Like, guys, you can't run to these guys all the time. They'll catch your ass. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta just skim the turf. Emmanuel Sanders is great at it as well. Devontae Adams is great at it. Keenan Allen is as well. Miko Hardeman is great at it. Debo Samuel is another one that's good at it. Like, their release quickness is very sudden. Very, very, very sudden. Their feet just skim the turf, and they're very like quick and violent with their sticks. But it's crazy the separation that they get from defensive backs. And it just requires a little bit. College, man, those guys just aren't really good releasers. The ones I work with, they've been working with me for so long that they don't really have an issue with that. But they also don't get to use it that much because they're getting played differently. And the Big 12, CD always was played off man. He didn't really get pressed a lot. Courtney Davis, he got pressed a lot in the SEC. They play a lot of man coverage in the SEC. That's what I like about the SEC.
It's more pro ready.
More NFL ready. They're more pro ready. They're more pro ready. See, just very much well pro ready, man. Not just the physical part of it, man, but the way they're coached up. Not saying anybody else is from different conferences is coached bad. It's just like those guys are. It's just like NFL, man.
It's consistent across the board.
Across the board, man. And I'm in Indies up there as well, but they get them guys prepared mentally a lot for the game as well, what to expect. And I just, when they come down to see me, I have them pro NFL ready. I'll have them NFL ready before the season starts. And it's because I work with so many of the highest guys, the highest skilled guys at their position. At running back, at defensive back, at cornerback.
I get that, man. Get that.
Yeah.
Let's move on right straight to running back. Actually, I know you said earlier that you really can't coach speed, but you can coach quickness. Is there a way to get like somebody to that extra level of speed by just maybe understanding how to read the gaps a little differently, or just different ways to go ahead and start their first couple of movements to make sure that there is no wasted movement and that they're putting all their velocity into just going as fast as they can immediately?
But see, the thing is, when you get the football, think about running back. Speed comes second to agility when you play running back. I tell people all the time, if you think about it, a lot of the best running backs aren't the fastest ones. They gotta have good. You gotta have good vision, great vision, great instincts where to go. Reaction time gotta be minimum, and that's the type of stuff I work with. If you watch some of the stuff I do, like Jet McKinnon or David Montgomery, I'll work their footwork with the octagons. We'll work some footwork mechanics, work on some change of direction stuff. But then you'll see me work some stuff active feet to wrist, full speed stop. Because in the football game, when they're back in the backfield, they're resting. Once they get the ball, they can get active again. But if they see a hole, they might have to slow themselves down and rest, then get back active again. And the way I do things, man, if you came and watch a training session live, I make them react so fast that in the game is slow. Like I'll tell you, Dave Montgomery, dude, just wait. Let's watch him this year. Dave Montgomery, I give them situations that's like, okay, we got a zone read, take it outside. I'll set my trash cans up. All right, we got a zone read, take it outside. Then I'll make them go here. All right, so we got a zone read going outside, but what the DN crashes? Now you got to go here, David. And then he'll change direction, got to go there. Then I'm pointing to another hole. He got to go there. Then I put him outside. So he's making all those cuts in short area. I am very big on short area and very big on being elusive through traffic for my pro guys. So I don't do a lot of bouncing out to the outside and all that because the likelihood you are running somebody is very slim. Everybody fast, Rashawn Gary comes out to my facility and works out, man. He's an animal, man. He will walk anybody down. So you got to be able to move quickly and accurately and be very elusive through traffic. That's key.
So is that a matter of staying as low as possible? Like, are you trying to keep yourself as low as possible?
But the thing is, I bring my running backs up high, a little higher. Reason being because the lower you get, if you think about it, if you were to get in a squatting stance right now, you think you can run like that? If you're just squatting, you wouldn't be able to. So this is the part of the game where I'm trying to figure out. I told the boys, I'll be telling my pro guys, man, I'm gonna get on ESPN. And I'm gonna have a conversation with these people about, look, everybody don't need to be low. Matter of fact, I want you to watch NFL football this year and watch the corners. If you watch them, they're damn near standing straight up. Because the receivers aren't bent down really low. They are in college for some odd reason, but the first movement is what? Up. If receiver on the line are really low, the first movement they do is up. Same thing with defensive back. If they're really low, the first movement is up. So they play a higher in NFL. I teach my running backs to do the same thing. The only time you need to get low is when you're upon a point of contact. Other than that, you got to be in a more of an athletic stance. Not like you're standing straight up, but you want to have a slight bend in your knees where you're able to still move quickly. Because these guys get so low that they end up getting too heavy. So, and then you just got to let your eyes move your feet and put these guys through situations, that they might not see in a game. I make them uncomfortable feel real comfortable with these guys. A lot of multi-directional type of stuff. But, you know how it is, man, when you play football, man, these running backs get the ball and, the hole might look open, they could be back in the backfield, whatnot, but it's going to be a totally different look once the ball is in their hands. So they got, so I got to find ways, to how to get them there and how to get them there quick. If they see this, do that. But I develop it, rep it out to a point where it becomes second nature to them. I get down with their RB stuff, man. I'm really big on quick twitch, really big on suddenness, really big on active to rest. Really big on footwork. Those are their money makers. Their eyes got to move their feet, and then once you get their feet right, light, and then I can start working everything else. I start making sure they change direction with their feet inside their body frame, not too wide. Make sure their hips are fluid, because a lot of guys got to have those hips. It's a new age football nowadays, man. So there's no more bruiser running backs. Everybody's more. I like to say the running backs nowadays are damn near, wideouts. The receivers that can run the ball very well. Look at Debo. Debo's a perfect example. Debo could play running back if he wanted to. Debo, yeah, but Debo has that type of ability when he runs the ball. Great vision, quick-footed. I mean, you watch the stuff that I like. A lot of the pro coaches that follow me, man, like the stuff I work on, you can see if we took all the tools out, all the equipment out, it's the same movement. It's like, man, we're gonna see that in the game, or they're gonna see that at practice, on the field. So I make everything functional, make sure it translates, and probably one of the reasons why I've been really, really, rated as one of the high, the top football trainers. It just comes second nature to me. I do it so much. I see it. I can see things differently, and I just know what these guys need to get better. And what's crazy, man, they're so gifted. They're very, very, very gifted, but there's still areas in their game that they lack. You'd be amazed, that people don't see that. It's hard to see it in the weight room, but But when you do field work, you can see it. And they know how I am. I let them know, like, hey, this ain't right, man. Even me and Odell, and that dude's dipped in a different kind of. Oh, I work with a lot of guys. Odell is like a different breed. Like I'm talking about, like the stuff that he does. It's like, man, how the hell did you do that? Even when we're after working out, I'm like, bro, I'm getting mad now. Like I'm like, I'm getting mad now, but dude, I'm telling you, man, like. Like you got people like Le'Veon gifted, Manuel gifted. I mean, all these guys. I mean, Debo gifted, Jet McKinnon gifted. Odell's on a different planet. I'm telling you, like he's just so sharp and with not the catching, and he can run, he can jump. I mean, he picks up stuff so fast, so fluid. I mean, whether you're playing pool, whether you're shooting hoops, whether you're playing basketball, I mean, a dude can play soccer, a dude can kick field goals, a dude can play baseball. I mean, he just
the mentality.
Yeah, but as he does it, you'll think he's been doing it all like he's a pro. Man, I mean, he's a hard working dude, hard working dude, man. And we worked out LA for a month, and just how he picks up, understands stuff, and like things. I'm like, man, you're not supposed to get this right now. I don't know how he's picking up on it so fast.
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. Even if you are a pro, I'm like, you're still not supposed to. How the hell did you? If you watch some of the stuff that he does, not just the catches, watch how he'll attack a DB, and he'll be at a spot where, damn, how did he know to pull his jersey and the DB hand's going to be there and slap his? It's just he has a sixth sense where everything's at. He'll find hole. It's unreal, man. It's unreal. It's something that you got to see live, man. Like. You're working.
It sounds like it's a mental inventory of everything he's ever seen, and because he's so good, he's seen all the coverages that you could throw at him at this point. So he's figured out a way to go through each one, and he has like that whole inventory. Okay, well, this is what I'm going to pick now. This is what I'm going to pick next, and this is going to work every time because I've done it. It's worked before.
Yeah, but what's crazy is like I got guys that've been in the league longer than him that still don't do that type of stuff. Which is like and they attack it the same way. But he got a skill set that's really like gifted, man. 4XL gloves. If the ball's in the air, it's his. I mean, if y'all watch him when he warms up and does the way his catching drills, he's catching the ball from the top of it, man. Like that's rare. You don't see many people doing that. And and he just his body can bend in certain ways. He can adjust. I mean, it's on top of the speed, and quick that he has. He's just a good all-around player. So
I love that.
Yeah.
So, let's go back to the running backs really quickly just for one moment before we go on to the next thing. So, can you teach vision? Is it something that can be taught, or do the dudes that show up with vision, like who they are, and maybe you work on different things, and maybe the dudes that don't, you don't know what to do?
You can teach. I think you teach instincts.
Okay.
And vision-wise, I think it comes with reps. A lot of guys are tunnel vision. When I first started working with Melvin Gordon, man, he was like that, but it wasn't really Melvin's fault. Melvin's always been a big back, but not only that, Melvin's was at Wisconsin, so we got a big old line. All Melvin Gordon really had to do was get the ball, see the hole, and then hit it. So we didn't have to really look side to side. David Montgomery ain't no blocking at Iowa State, so you're gonna find that vision some way because if that ain't open. You got to keep your head on a swivel. So I think it can be developed, but if you're able to develop the reaction time with the reaction time, footwork, reaction time, instincts, and vision, they're gonna be all right. But the instincts are kind of knowing, where to go. You got to see it before it's even happening. That's why you got to put them in situations where they got to react. Come here, go there, and then see if they can, process what's going on, move their head, and get to that place as soon as they possibly can. So
without knowing what's coming in front of them.
Without knowing what's coming in front of them. It's not nothing. I don't think you can watch a film on a defense and be like, okay, you can't predetermine it. It's not going to work because, it's just a feel. But the longer you play a running back, the better it's going to be. So the longer you play a running back, the better you get at it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So talk to me about quarterbacks. I know everybody talks about, being on the right throwing platform and being able to not go across your body and all those things. But is it also just a simple I mean, the need to just not get crushed by this defensive line that probably is the most important part of QB footwork?
Well, you got to be able to move within the pocket. Where you're, say for instance, Pat Mahomes might have a 3-step drop, go 3-step drop, then from 3-step drop, here comes Khalil Mack. You got to have the footwork to do what? Boom, shuffle up in the pocket. So I work a lot of QB movement within the pocket, just enough ability to escape pressure, but still, set their feet and have the throw. With quarterbacks, man, the feet make the throw. But you got guys like that, like Pat Mahomes that can throw from different platforms. He can throw from different arm angles. He can get away with it, but a lot of times when they're in the pocket and they do escape and they got to set feet. I mean, they flip their hips, quickly. They're in their base, and they'll make the throw. So I do a lot of stuff with the QB just within the pocket, tight pocket, the pocket collapse, from shuffling up, shuffling back, front side escape, back side escape, just stuff like that. Put them in guys in situations to be able to move as quickly and efficiently as they possibly can within the pocket. A lot of those guys, man, what they do is they stay in the same base a lot. They'll stay in the same base. I'm like, guys, you got to get up out that base now, dude, and get your feet together, and then and then work quick, and then get your feet back wide, get your feet back to your base. They try to work in the same throwing base all the time. Like, you can't do that at times. You just don't have that type of time. You got to get skinny, flip your hips, then get back to your base, and then make the throw. So I try to work on all that type of stuff. I just rip it out with those guys.
Of the quarterbacks that you've seen, who do you think has the best pocket feel? Who do you think does that the best and probably should be like the standard?
Man, I like Aaron Rodgers a lot, man. I like Aaron Rodgers. Pat Mahomes does too, but I like Aaron because Aaron don't get as wide as Pat. Pat pocket feel, he'll bounce that bad boy out wide, and then make a throw sometimes. But Aaron Rodgers, he'll move within the pocket. He'll right near the throw. He might drop back, about to throw a pass right over the guard. Pressure comes, from the backside. Aaron Rodgers might escape. He might try to set his feet. Then another guy comes, from the other side. He'll shuffle up, boom, still make the throw. But Aaron, he just flicks the ball, man. If you watch him throw, the ball's like down here really low by his his stomach down there, but he gets back up to like opposite equal that quick. It's unreal. But he don't get enough credit for his footwork. Aaron is very, very, very good footwork, man. Very smooth, very quick. Like I said, gets his feet set to get back to his base. But he's probably one of the number one QBs.
That's interesting because you say that because, I mean, he kind of has a reputation of being a kind of one of those guys that maybe went off script a little bit and sometimes does get outside a little bit too often. You're saying that, I mean, yeah, he does that, but he does that as a secondary thing.
I think he does that as a secondary thing. I think Aaron, being a veteran quarterback like Aaron, you don't want to get them hits. I think a lot of quarterbacks try to stay within the pocket as much as they possibly can, and move around and make the throw. Just because you get outside that pocket, man, you start to become bait now. You live bait. You live bait, man. You stay where your protection's at. So but Aaron, I can see Aaron the past couple of years, man. Having to get outside of it a lot, man. Way outside of it, actually. But I think that might have been just due to this secondary, guy. But this was a year where he didn't have any receivers really getting open. You didn't have, your
Aaron Jones is the second best receiver, man. Aaron Jones is the second best receiver on the Green Bay Packers.
That's if you're a running back, you're the second best receiver, y'all got a problem. Y'all got a problem, man. So I'm glad Alan Lazard is out there, man. And Alan Lazard's a good player. He's sure-handed. He knows how to get open for a big receiver. So I'm cool with Alan. I worked with Alan when he was in Iowa State. So I'm hoping he does very well this offseason. I mean this season.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. So let me ask you this: have you had any players that you've coached, that you've trained, that you thought was, that was all right? They were going to survive, they were going to be okay. But turns out they're all pro, they're superstar. There's something that you didn't even really see coming during the training.
Oh man, see the thing, all the dudes I got, they were great before I got them. Man, it would have to be it might have to be one of my rookies. Like I knew Ed was gonna be good. I knew Ed was just different. Ed was 6'1", 280-pound defensive tackle, but I'm like the dude looked like a running back when he's out there
He's
moving
built like
around.
Donald.
Yep, he is very, very, very. I'm talking about agile. Man, there's a video man of him and I training out here, and it went crazy. He's just high agility, but man, I really don't, man, because you got to think about the guys that I have that I work with, man. It's like, Jesus, they're all either first, second rounders. A lot of, so I'm like, geez, a lot of my
Humble
guys are
brag.
top 10. Yeah, yeah. I'm like, man, let me see, guys, who.
But still, man, there's got to be like one that you were like, okay, I thought you were good. I didn't know you were like that.
Man, I knew David was gonna be good. Just and I do have a lot of belief in a lot of my guys, man. But who took off? Miko probably one of the main would be one. He went to the right team, and they know how to use him because Miko didn't have a lot of production in college. But you know what? I did know Miko. I knew Miko was gonna be great. I've been knowing Miko for a long before he got to Georgia. I knew Miko was gonna be good. I was more so pissed off at Georgia that Georgia didn't know how to use his talents. So I knew he was gonna be good. So I can't say Miko. It ain't gonna work. He knows that. Damn, but dude, you know what, bro? I really don't. I honestly, man, like this is something I gotta be thinking about because I'm thinking about the guys I have. There's nobody that I really. Damn, it's like damn, I can say after this year, hopefully Lonnie Johnson this year, because he's gonna be starting cornerback. So I want to see what he does this year. He'll be the one. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, yeah. I knew you. I knew you you're gonna go in. I thought you're gonna be, you're gonna do good, whatnot. But if he goes in there and shuts it down, game after game after game after game, I'm gonna go crazy because I believe in him, but I want to see. I want to make. I think he's gonna take game after game after game after game. But he's gonna be elite, very 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 elite. Kid's man, that's gonna be a special player right there, man. I'm talking about a 6'3" corner, very very good, very very fast, quick, loose hips. Great coverage ability. Maybe worked on a lot of that stuff. This off season. So he's gonna be my one that I think, man, that I want to see really just go crazy, and that way I can just be like, man, you did better than I projected. So I project you're gonna do good, but I know I want to see him just go off.
That's got to make you proud as hell when that happens, though, too.
Yeah, it does. It makes me extremely proud, man, and it makes me proud. The game is real slow to me. So a lot of people, the game is real fast on, but I'm like, man, when you watch them train, you really get to see what fast and quick and like what like I'll put the dudes in situations. I'm like, man, how the hell did you get here? Like, man, I just sent you. Like, it's unreal watching them guys live, man. Like it just the video do no justice sometimes you see it live, man. And this is stuff that I do. You don't get to see at practice because that NFL practice is kind of like, it has speed and stuff. You don't want to get hurt. The off season is where the grind comes in, And I'm watching guys moving 100 miles per hour, man. Stopping on a dime, going back to 100 miles per hour, man. It's crazy, Watching them catch footballs that are way overthrown and they're still getting there, putting David Montgomery and Jet McKinnon through running back situations where it's like, damn, how did you get from here to here to here when I told you to go? It's just nuts, man. It's just like, but it's crazy. It's so challenging, man. But it makes them better, man. That's why you see me every year. So,
Are the rumors true with Jared McKinnon? Is he just like stupidly athletic? Is he just something that you just haven't really seen?
When Kyle Shanahan said that we gotta damn near lock the weight room up for Jet McKinnon, he's right. I got 4 guys, I can tell you right now, that don't get tired. They don't get tired. Le'Veon Bell, Odell Beckham, Jet McKinnon, and Emmanuel Sanders. They don't get tired at all. I'm talking about Emmanuel catch 500 footballs, an extra hour, catch 500 footballs after training. Jet McKinnon, bro, he'll do a pool workout. Then he'll go work out with Coop, AP's trainer in Houston, because they all come to Houston to work out. And then he'll come see me in the evening time, 3 days out of the week. And it's just like, man, how's your body? He just don't get tired. And I'm just going full throttle at him. He wants to be great. Like, he is the hardest worker ever. Film, weight room, recovery, pool workout, hydrobaric chamber. I mean, he takes care of his body. He eats right, the whole 9. And you know what's even crazier? Me and Jet train like this is our 4th year training. There, all the stuff that we do training wise, cut back, footwork, change direction, leaning, cut, all that kind of stuff. He tore his ACL that year just on air, just on air, just cutting on air on grass. He tore his ACL. Man, Jets, he wasn't even going full speed. He said he go Rashad. I was literally just boom, just like a little walkthrough. You know, it was unfortunate, man, because he was about to kill it. You know, and there's a reason why they paid him all that money. He can do a lot with the ball in his hands and in the passing game, and he is not. And y'all probably see us calling. Everybody's like, man, these San Francisco people. Why y'all keep saying you and Jet keep talking back and forth on Twitter about back end McKinnon? Well, one of y'all damn writers over there from San Fran said Jet's on the back end. So I'll bring up. I'll say things on something that they'll say or a video of Jet balling out at practice. Back end McKinnon. I go back end McKinnon. You know, yeah, Jet like we on the back end. They made it up. They said back end. You know, so. That's it's crazy. That's all the motivation that Jet needed.
Of course.
Yeah, that's all the motivation that Jet needed. Jet went on guys like, man, when he turns that switch on, it's over with. He's already, you know, he's blazing. He's man, this is gonna be a year. Oh man, this is gonna be his year.
I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Me too. Yeah, I'm excited too for him and David Montgomery and then Le'Veon. Those guys, those are my 3 main guys, man, and I'm excited for them.
All right, my brother, let me let you out on this. This is going to be my last question. You might have already answered it already, because I know you mentioned Lonnie Johnson as the dude that you're just looking to ball out. So, of the guys that you've trained in the last 2-3 classes, like just the young players that you've trained in the last 2-3 classes, is there a dude that you think just does not get the recognition that he deserves, that needs to be a household name and that will be a household name in 2020 just based on what you've seen and based on his body of work so far?
Yeah, and if he gets his opportunity, I got 2 of them. I got one of them is a receiver. His name's Courtney Davis. He was with the Vikings. He's up with the Bills right now. He got to work out. He's just like Stephon Diggs with A&M. He graduated he came out the same year as CD. Him and CD are really good friends. They train together. Courtney Davis would be one. Y'all keep an eye on him. And Shewo Olanalua. He's number 33, running back for TCU. He's on the Cowboys. He plays running back. He made the practice squad roster, but I talked to one of the coaches up there, and it's a matter of time before they move him up. He's 6'3", 4'5" guy, jumped 41, 220, and he's a running back. I mean, if you watch the pull up with the film of him, even in college, real shifty, elusive, but he's going to be one of those ones, man, it's going to be like, man, I knew he can do it. I mean, I call him Le'Veon Bell 2.0. He's an inch taller than Le'Veon. Le'Veon's his idol, but I've always trained him like Le'Veon to be as nimble and elusive and patient and be racked like Le'Veon since he was in high school, man. So he's going to be one of the ones that, you know, Courtney Davis and Shea Wallen, man. Look out for them 2 guys. CD going to be straight. Caleb Vaughn's going to be great. Grant's going to be great. Get healthy. CD, Caleb Vaughn, Grant. You know, also I got one more. Tyree Cleveland. Tyree been out here since he was in high school as well. Went to Florida. You know, he didn't have a great quarterback at University of Florida. He just made the 53-man roster for the Denver Broncos. Plays wide receiver. So definitely look out for Tyree Cleveland as well. Man, he's an animal, man. Yeah. So I'm just you know, last 2 years, you know, and all the guys I've named, I worked with since high school. So to see my guys I worked with since high school get drafted is like, that's a blessing. You know, a lot of guys will get drafted, but to see my guys that are on teams and they made it, it's just like, man, okay. And this is just the beginning. You know, I had Ed Oliver and Kendall Sheffield and David Montgomery last year. Last year. Yeah, those are my 3 guys last year. Kendall, David, Ed, yeah. So just you know, just seeing my guys get drafted every year is great, man. I got more guys coming in next year, get drafted. So I'm just want my guys to get drafted, you know, every year.
Hey man, I'm excited for the season. I'm excited to see these guys pop off just like you say you are, or you say they will. And man, I appreciate the hell out of you. This was super fun. It's not often that I get to speak to somebody who's actually seen these guys in person and can give me
Yeah.
the real scoop on how these guys win and what they do. So I appreciate every moment you
Oh
spent
yeah,
with us.
man. No. Oh yeah, no problem. Man. Anytime, man. I'm you know, as the trainers, man, we know a lot. We know a lot more because we're with them so much, and we're the ones actually putting them through these type of functional movements and stuff like that. It's different from weight room, but on field stuff, man, it's like guys like me and Framp and Clay Mack and D Rod and Brandon Jordan. Like we can give you the real scoop. We tell you exactly how efficient these guys move, how good they are with their hands or their feet, and running routes and adjust to the ball and all that kind of stuff. So. Anytime, man. Thank you for having me on the show. Uh, yeah, I'm always willing to pour back into, give back, man, to everybody who's been pointing to me, man. So I thank y'all guys for the opportunity.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. You're killing it on social media, which is why everybody knows your name right now. So hey, you did this yourself, man.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Truly appreciate it.
you have a good one.
Oh, you too.
Adios. All right, guys. So now we're going to get to the part of the podcast that I know you guys have all been waiting for. We're going to do what we do on this show. We are going to plug in the analyzer and get to this week's Dynasty Diagnostic. So let me go ahead and pull up the roster right now, and we can see what we can do today about how we can maybe help this team really get to the promised land and get to where we know that it can be. So it is a 12-team, half PPR, one quarterback league. So in a one quarterback league, at quarterback, we have Matthew Stafford, Daniel Jones, Drew Lock, and Joe Burrow. It's a one quarterback league, so honestly, quarterback isn't even necessarily something we need to spend that much time on. But I mean, you're stocked. You are absolutely stocked with this roster, dude. Matthew Stafford was a top 3 quarterback, I think, in the first few games of last season before he was out with injury. You already know what I said about Joe Burrow and how I think that he can kind of break the wheel at rookie quarterback just because he has a team offensively, aside from offensive line that I know is very, very important. But I'm just going to take this out to the highest expectation. I think Joe Burrow is going to be very, very good. I think he's going to be a late-round quarterback that ends up as a QB1. Daniel Jones, he has a terrible, terrible starting schedule. He's going to really struggle early on in the season, but again, it's a one-quarterback league, and I think towards the end of the season, he's going to start to pick it up a little bit again. We've already seen multiple 300-yard passing games from Daniel Jones, 3 TD passing games from Daniel Jones. We know he can get it done. It's a matter of whether or not he can keep those turnovers down, whether he can keep those interceptions and fumbles down over the next couple of seasons. But I do think that Daniel Jones is a very, very good quarterback as well. And Drew Lock, with the injury to Von Miller, I expect a worse Denver Broncos defense. And by association, that necessarily means more pass attempts for the Denver Broncos. So this guy that we all thought was probably one of the late-round darlings of this year, I think is really going to get an opportunity to have the volume to back that up as well. So, you're stocked in a way that isn't natural to most teams. That isn't something that you see every day. And even in a one-quarterback league, you can probably get something for a guy like Joe Burrow right now if you really wanted to. So that's something that I'd look into. But whether or not you need to add to this, unequivocally, you do not need to add to this part of the roster at all. Quarterbacks, you are absolutely straight, my dude. At running back, we have Saquon Barkley, Marlon Mack, Darius Geis, Peterson, Swift, and Vaughn. So obviously Saquon Barkley is Saquon Barkley. I think he's the consensus Dynasty 102 pretty much everywhere you look. By the end of the season, if he has a season that is anywhere close to what CMC has produced recently, or if he has a season that, by whatever weird phenomenon is actually better than CMC this season, he will quickly vault into Dynasty 101. He's 23 years old, I believe, this year, coming up on his age 24 season going into next year. Most running backs have most of their production before the age of 25. You've already seen a 1,300-yard season from Saquon Barkley last season. A lot of injuries definitely contributed to maybe a little bit more of a muted outcome from Saquon, but I think we all believe what he can be. Looking at Marlon Mack, it's a question of how long you consider that Marlon Mack is going to be the quote-unquote starter on that team. We know the fervor surrounding Jonathan Taylor and what we expect from Jonathan Taylor coming out this year. We expect him to take this job outright at some point during the course of the season. So Marlon Mack's value is entirely dependent on how long he holds that number one RB job on that team. The good thing for Marlon Mack is everything that's good for Jonathan Taylor about the O-line, everything that's good for Jonathan Taylor when it comes to Indianapolis being one of the most run-heavy teams in the league this year, most likely, is also good for Marlon Mack. If he's able to capitalize early on any of those gains, if he's able to capitalize early on anything that just allows him to show maybe a 100-yard game here or there, then there's a chance that he just won't go away during the course of the season and that he's always going to be, at least in name, nominally, the starting running back. So it's probably not a likely scenario that we see a tremendous amount of value from Marlon Mack after the season in Dynasty, just especially also considering the fact that he's going to be off of his rookie deal going into next season. He's going to be competing with Aaron Jones. He's going to be competing with Chris Carson. He's going to be competing with Mark Ingram, as well as all the rookie backs next year in free agency. So whether or not long-term value is there is not necessarily something that I'm really banking on, but there is definitely a possibility that for 8 games or so this season, Marlon Mack could be a valued piece. Derrius Guice, obviously Derrius Guice kind of has his own issues to worry about now. He was released from the Washington football team, as you know, because of the domestic violence incidents reported that concerned Derrius Guice. So I don't think he's going to be an asset moving forward, just because even before that he was never able to stay healthy. So the chances of him really reemerging anywhere anytime soon are just not high for me, because he doesn't really have the body of work to show these NFL GMs that they really should be looking his way again, if and when we even get to that point and he gets through his legal trouble. So Derrius Guice is definitely not a pick that's going to be helping this team. Adrian Peterson as well. He's in a committee. He's in a full-blown committee with both Kerryon Johnson and DeAndre Swift this year, if all things kind of go as we expect them to. Now, we've seen Adrian Peterson kind of find different levels of success in the last few years with some of the teams that he's went to. Cardinals Adrian Peterson wasn't the Adrian Peterson that we really thought we were getting. Saints Adrian Peterson never really got a shot. But Adrian Peterson on the Washington football team has been a pretty decent grinder. He's been one of those guys that it was never really sexy to play, but somebody that you could always count on some consistent points from. Whether or not that's going to be the case this year, I'm not sure, because I just think that there's a lot of crowding in that backfield, and we really do all have high hopes for Swift. And Swift is going to be the main pass catcher regardless of what happens. So I really do think that him and Kerryon are going to be sharing carries, and that's going to really diminish the value of both. Obviously, I think he's too old at this point at the running back position to be a long-term asset. But again, he might be somebody who's able to give you a week or two of starting level production in this league this season. Is really just going to be a matter of when to play him. I think you can only play him in really, really smash matchups, and that's going to take some value away from AP. And obviously Vaughn, with everything we heard out of Tampa Bay earlier this offseason, we really thought that Vaughn and Gibson were pretty much two sides of the same coin, that these guys were both going to get opportunity to lead their backfields. These guys were both a little bit more unheralded and probably should have got more sway in this first year of starting. But, I mean, we haven't really heard anything good come out of the Buccaneers camp when it comes to Vaughn. We've heard that he obviously was put on the COVID list for a little while. He came back. He was behind the 8 ball. And now they've gone out and signed Leonard Fournette in addition to Ronald Jones, in addition to all the other backs that they have on that roster. So I do think it's going to be a really, really hard climb to get anywhere with Vaughn this season and potentially even moving forward, because I do think that this might be a team that looks to go ahead and take another drink out of the well next season in terms of trying to find a running back to fit on this team, especially if Tom Brady is still there. I don't think they're going to re-sign Leonard Fournette. I think Ronald Jones has kind of been shown to not really be the answer, so I would not be surprised if this Bucs team went out and drafted a running back in this next season. So looking at running back as a whole, Barkley, Matt, Guice, Peterson, Swift, Vaughn. I mean, I love Barkley, obviously. I love Swift. I think Swift is going to be an RB1 sooner rather than later. But beyond that, I really don't see anything here that you can really classify as true value. So I do think that this is one of the places that you really do have to shore up to have any chance of competing this season. But I do think think that you have something already in place there. So if you don't necessarily want to put in all the chips this season, you want to go ahead and give it a wait until next season to really, really try and contend. And then I think at that point, Swift will be ready to be a solid RB2 for you. And between Swift and Barkley, I think you'll be A-okay at that spot. At wide receiver, DJ Moore, Kenny Golladay, Juju Smith-Schuster, DJ Chark, Julian Edelman, Anthony Miller, Cordell Patterson, I believe, Brandon Ayuk, Brian Edwards, Van Jefferson, Devin Duvernay, Brian Edwards, Van Jefferson, man, you've been listening to the podcast. We appreciate that. Brian Edwards is very likely to have a rookie season that we expect out of first-round wide receivers, just because he's going to have that starting role pretty much from day one. We just heard from Footwork King not so long ago that Henry Ruggs is struggling a little bit and is not necessarily built for that alpha number one receiver role. Brian Edwards is, and he was that in his collegiate career when he was healthy. It's just a matter of whether or not he can stay healthy and continue to grab that opportunity. So I think Brian Edwards is a good pick. I do think Van Jefferson is a better pick than most people think, because most people are resigned to the idea that the Rams are going to go 21 or 12 personnel pretty much every snap. And I just don't think that's the case. I think drafting Van Jefferson, even though you already let go of Brandon Cooks, drafting Van Jefferson, still having Robert Woods and Cooper Kupp, I think you can still run 11 pretty effectively. And I think we're going to see more of an opportunity for Van Jefferson than a lot of people are projecting for him, because they don't see the Rams being multiple in their offensive looks in the ways that they really like to go ahead and attack the defense. I think Sean McVay's had so much success with 11 personnel that 11 personnel is probably still going to be what these Rams run most of the time. So I do think that there's definitely some late round value there, but the starters here are absolutely stupendous. DJ Moore, he's a top 5 dynasty wide receiver at this point. Kenny Golladay, I think, can very easily vault in the top 5 dynasty wide receivers at this point. Kenny Golladay is already a beast. The only issue with Kenny Golladay is Kenny Golladay has a 22% target share. If that target share goes up to 23, 24, 25%, like a true alpha number one receiver should really be at, then Kenny Golladay really, the sky's the limit for him. I think a lot of people kind of poo-poo what Golladay can do because of what they've seen when he shares the field with Marvin Jones. But a lot of that time he was also developing. He was developing his craft. He's one of those guys to not really be a really heralded receiver until later in his actual, not really later in his career, but later in his age. He's already 26, 27, but he's really only had 2 or so years of big-time fantasy relevance. So I really do think that there's room to grow just on target share, just on a volume basis alone, that can propel Kenny Golladay into that top 5 wide receiver conversation. So he's somebody I definitely like. Juju Smith-Schuster this year is somebody that I've actually traded in a couple of leagues, and I might come back around and regret that I ever said this and regret that I did those deals at all. But I do think that there might be a little bit more reason to worry about Juju Smith-Schuster than we thought there was at this time last year. Now, I understand with Duck Hodges, with the backup quarterbacks they had playing last season, that we weren't going to see the best from a guy like Juju Smith-Schuster, but that doesn't mean that I expected what we saw from Juju. Obviously, injuries played a role, but I just think the presence of Deontay Johnson, of Eric Ebron now to steal some end zone looks is going to make it hard for Juju to really reach the heights of dynasty wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 that he was last year. Now, I understand he's one of the most accomplished receivers at his age. I just think that Juju Smith-Schuster has a lot more competition than people think he has this year on the Steelers. I also think, or I don't necessarily know where Ben Roethlisberger is just in totality. I mean, until we see that, we don't really know how much he's come back and how good he's going to be this year. I don't expect the Steelers offense to throw the ball nearly as much as they did a few seasons ago when they were at 670-something pass attempts. I also expect this defense to be the best, if not one of the best defenses in the entire league, which again is just going to limit the number of opportunities that this wide receiver core as a whole has, because they won't necessarily need to come back in games the way they needed to just that couple of seasons ago. So there's a number of factors that have me a little bit wary about Juju Smith-Schuster moving forward. And I mean, I think he's still a guy that you can kind of get an outsized return for. So if somebody wants to inquire about Juju, I would talk. And then DJ Chark, I think I've said this on a previous episode. I think I said this on the episode with the last episode, actually, with Sam Lane, Kate, and Michelle from ballblast.com. I really do think that DJ Chark is kind of like Kenny Galladay in the sense that it's volume. It's just volume that we're looking at right now. And we expect this Jaguars team to be one of the worst teams in the league. They have one of the worst defenses in the league. And he really only has a Ricky Laviska Shenault to really compete against. Keelan Cole has not necessarily been getting rave reviews. D.D. Westbrook has been in and out of the injury tent this offseason. So I think it's just DJ Chark, and it's an offense that's going to have to throw a hell of a lot to stay in games. If that's the case, then DJ Chark's just going to reap the rewards of that. And whether or not we're selecting DJ Chark as a top 12 wide receiver next year, I think has a higher probability than not. Going into tight end, TJ Hawkinson, Jared Cook, Dawson Knox. I think Dawson Knox is one of those guys that maybe you want to happen, but there's just not enough space in that offense for it to happen. You obviously have Stephon Diggs. You still have Cole Beasley. You still have John Brown. Obviously, we expect Zach Moss to be a threat on third down, catching out of the backfield. And then you have a quarterback that runs on top of all of that. So whether or not there's just enough oxygen in that entire Bills offense is something I question when it comes to looking at whether or not Dawson Knox can be a breakout tight end. But, I mean, moving on to some of the other breakout tight ends, I think TJ Hawkinson's a prime example of a guy that could be a breakout tight end. I mean, it's just a matter of time until Marvin Jones is no longer on that team. I really do think this is last year on that team, and that would firmly put TJ Hawkinson in as the number 2 option on this Detroit Lions passing attack. And Matthew Stafford has been good enough throughout his career to provide volume to guys that demand volume. TJ Hawkinson had a crazy game in week 1 of last season, so we've seen what his ceiling is. It's just a matter of whether or not he can stay healthy and whether or not he can go ahead and find a little bit more consistency in year 2. But the tight end position is always a position that we stress countlessly on this show. We stress takes a while to learn. It's not often that you see these guys really bust a move in the rookie season. So I do have a lot of faith in TJ Hawkinson. I think him and Noah Fant are really going to be the premier tight ends sooner rather than later. Once maybe we see a little bit of a step back from a Travis Kelce or a Zach Ertz. I'm not predicting any of that happens this year, but whether or not this can be a late round tight end that happens to be the next Mark Andrews, I do think that you found the guy that can do just that. Jared Cook, I'm worried about because I just don't think that with Emmanuel Sanders now, that team is going to have as much of a need to go ahead and throw to Jared Cook in the end zone or just in general as much as they've had to in the past. It's always kind of been an issue with this Saints team of never really having a true wide receiver 2 on that team. It's been Alvin Kamara for the last few seasons. So I think now that they have one, I think a lot of people are discounting that and they expect Jared Cook to have the same exact roles he's had previously, but I just don't necessarily see that. I do think that he's going to struggle for targets in that offense, again, on a team that we expect to have one of the best defenses in the league. So that's kind of where I'm at with Jared Cook. But as a whole, I think this roster is great. I do think you have a top 4 roster. You do need to work on running back. You need a third running back. I think looking for a cheaper guy like a Leonard Fournette, looking for maybe a rookie that hasn't popped off yet to go ahead and pair with Swift is going to do you a whole lot of good. In order to get that deal done, I'd probably look to trade Juju, acquire a young asset at wide receiver back for Juju, maybe like a Marquise Brown or something like that. If somebody doesn't necessarily see those values as too close together, get a running back on top of that to go ahead and solidify yourself for both now and the future, solving the running back problem now and also not limiting your future by getting that wide receiver back for Juju. But this is nice. I would say this is something like this is not quite Aston Martin DB9 levels. I would say this is like a Mercedes S500 levels. It's classy. It's nice. People know that you spent money on it. People know that you can ball a little bit with this car, but it's also not going to be the thing that is absolutely just having people breaking their neck looking at it. I think it's going to be a case where maybe you're one of the contenders that people don't necessarily peg for being in the championship, but can easily find their way there. You just need to be judicious and be quick getting all these running backs that that are going to pop late, whether it's a James Robinson you can trade for right now at not too much of a cost, or maybe you go ahead and you just buy Antonio Gibson, you spend what you need to, and he goes off. You can find a running back that's going to fit into that RB2, RB3 role for you, and really solidify that and get you a solid 12 to 15 points a game, that I think you're absolutely golden everywhere else. I think you can tread water at tight end, and it's really just a matter of time. Quarterback, again, we don't even really need to talk about it. It's a one quarterback, so you've definitely done well with this. And this roster was sent in by Anthony Chino. You can go ahead and find Anthony Chino at Anthony Chino 13 on Twitter. Go ahead and make sure you give this dude a follow. If you want to be part of the show, all you've got to do is give us a rating and review on iTunes. Go ahead, send us a screenshot of that and of your roster, and we will get your roster on the show. Also, please make sure to go to the Dynasty Diagnostic podcast feed on iTunes. Give us a 5-star rating and review. It really helps the podcast grow and reach more listeners. Go ahead and check out our Patreon. Go ahead and check out our store, envy.com store, FF Pod shirts. It is actually built, managed, and operated by Dynasty Outhouse, who you know. Dynasty Outhouse does this for a number of podcasts, and a percentage of all proceeds does go to Fantasy Cares, Scott Fish's charity. Technicians out there, thank you for making it to the Dynasty Diagnostic Service Center today. Please be sure to keep up with your scheduled maintenance and catch us next time to ensure quality performance. See you on your next visit.